Happy Easter. Every year on this day, I start to see those Easter lamb cakes and remember that I was a cake decorator for about 15 to 20 years and that I could make my own lamb cake. So I always forget, but this year I found pans and have remembered. Now, I do not know what mold a lot of people are using for their pans. I found a pan that is like this, and it would lock together so that you would put the cake in it, but it also looked like it would leak all over the place. And I've already had one fire in my oven this year. I didn't need them. So I did make two halves that we're going to stick together on this cake and see how it goes. All right, so I'm about 2 minutes in and I already cut my finger. I leveled the cakes and now I'm trying to get it out of the pan. I'll sandwich them together later, but you do have to be a little bit delicate here. Now, part of doing it this way is the ears are not completely filled in. So I already broke the head off. So I know that the ears aren't going to be, okay, well, we'll fix that. Okay, second one is out, we're ready to assemble. Now, I normally would use a Wilton buttercream recipe from the mid-90s. I don't think that they follow the same recipe anymore, but it was tried and true for me. Everybody said it wasn't ever too sweet. It was super wonderful to decorate with. It does call for about a cup of Crisco. I don't use Crisco. It'll be another 2 or 3 years before I would ever use it again and it would go bad. So I didn't want to spend a lot of money on that and materials, so I am cheating a little bit and I just bought canned frostings. So I did get the rainbow chip for nostalgia and yumminess. That's going to go in the middle to hold it together, and then I got vanilla for the outside. Now, I am not and have not ever been planning to pipe anything. Certainly you could get fancy and pipe all of the wooliness of the sheep, but if anything, we might get a little bit fancy. We'll see how it holds up. So I was taught a certain technique, and I see other people not doing this, but I wanted to share it just in case it helps. Because I have done this millions of times, it is an ingrained habit. But when you're working with any frosting, take out your scoop and don't directly apply it. You want to scoop it back into the bowl. That lifts it off the spatula and re-scoop. And now it's looser and more able to come off of the cake without bringing crumbs with it. So just going to smooth that. A lot of people do what's known as a crumb coat, basically because they just know that they're going to get crumbs in something, and so they're willing to do things twice. When I learned, I was taught in a grocery store, and first of all, it wasn't that precious, but second of all, you didn't have time to do 2 coats of anything, and that was more money and supplies, and the cakes weren't going for that, much expense. So anyway, we're just gonna put a nice little layer in here, and I'm also going to use this to attach the head, but not until I get the other part on it. Okay, they are now sandwiched together, and I need to add the head. Okay, to add the head, I'm going to add a nice clump of frosting here on the neck, and then I'm not going to frost this part of the head because that's already weakened, so we're just going to add the frosting to this part of the head and then add. Okay, now I have seen pictures and videos of people putting toothpicks in this. That's going to be okay if you are doing it for yourself and you make everybody aware that there's toothpicks in it and you know to pull them out. That should not be done in any sort of capacity where it's going to go out the door and you are not going to be there. And it's also a reason why nobody should ever smash somebody's head into a cake. In something like a wedding cake, there could be dowel rods and straws. You push somebody's head into something and they are going to get piercings. I've heard of people losing eyes from that. So don't ever do that. It's not funny. Okay, so now we're just going to add all the rest, not all of it, but add all the frosting. Now, another tip is add more than you know you're going to need, because you can always and will be scraping it off, but you need extra as kind of the thing that helps glide more frosting onto it. It doesn't mean just dump this whole can on here at a time, but it means go ahead and add a whole pile, and you're just going to shove it around. All right, don't be stingy at first, because that's not going to make the best experience here. Okay, so I have pretty much emptied an entire can onto it as is, and I'm just going to make little swirls to give it a look of being fluffy. And I can do this because I have this excess frosting on here, so I'm not scraping down into the cake, I'm scraping into that extra frosting. Nobody really can validly complain about extra frosting because you either love it or you can just scrape it off. And if you can see the cake through it, it's not extra. Okay, so now we're going to do kind of an artistic interpretation here. I have filled a piping bag with some of the canned icing. I had bought another can, and I added some powdered sugar so that it would be stiff enough to be able to pipe. I put it in the bag. I don't have a tip. I just cut a really tiny little circle on it because we're just going to make some grass and some stems for flowers. Now, when I watch people do cake decorating tutorials, the biggest thing that I cringe at is they take a big bag, or even something like this, they fill it up to here, and they're trying to squish from up here. That means you have to put so much pressure through this bag, you're stressing out your hand, and you're not getting control of it. It's okay to grab only a little bit and twist. You don't have to fill it up all the way. You can always refill it. Everybody thinks, oh, it'll melt. Work faster. Like, as you get faster, you'll get better, but you have so much more control over here that will also keep you better. So I'm just going to start at the bottom and squeeze and make little spikes for grass. You can also use coconut. Not everybody likes coconut, and my coconut was out of date. Start at the bottom, squeeze and lift and release. You can make them as tall or as short as you want, overlap them. You can do different shades of green. Okay, almost done. So I have now added spiky grass, and I'm just going to add some flowers to some of the taller pieces. Again, a bag with a tiny hole cut in it of slightly stiffer frosting, and I'm just going to make this kind of like a child's drawing. You could also make yellow dots. I don't want to use a bag for that, so I'm just making dots. I'm just holding and squeezing and letting go without really drawing the bag up to make a little flower. I'm going to do that all around. And there you have it, a lamb cake. Not my best work, but also it's just cake. This lamb, of course, is a symbol of Jesus, the last sacrifice, dying for us and rising again on this day. So enjoy. Happy Easter.